Hi there, this is Jason Renshaw from EnglishITutor.com, and this is TOEIC Speaking Lesson 2. I've already done one lesson which gave a general introduction to question types 1 and 2 on TOEIC Speaking, where you have to read aloud a passage. And today in Lesson 2 we're going to look at these issues of pace, rhythm and stress. These are very important considerations in terms of scoring well on this read aloud task. So using the passage that I showed you in the first lesson, we need to think about how we're going to pace our answer and also what words we're going to stress and focus on in terms of our rhythm. So let's start by talking about the way you pace your reading effectively. Where are you going to pause and take a breath, or just a slight pause before reading on? Well, I'll show you by way of example. On Wednesday, October 17, we will begin installing new internet connections in your building. Unfortunately, computers in most offices will be without internet for most of the day. However, by 10 a.m. we expect to finish the new installations in the main lobby, conference room, and several workshop rooms. Please use those locations if you require internet access on the day in question. Now, I sort of exaggerated some of those pauses a little bit for you, but basically you can see that wherever there is a comma or a period, we should really be pausing rather than sort of running through it, because these are sort of key chunks in the communication. You'll also notice that there's a bit of a break between clauses, like a main clause and a subordinate clause, and I've marked those with these markers here. And these are indications of where you should be sort of reading and then stopping and pausing and moving on a little bit. They don't need to be long pauses, but they're a good way to show the test assessor that you know what you are reading, you understand it, and that you've got a good natural English rhythm and pace. So you might like to look at that and practice using it yourself. See if you can go through pause whenever you see these commas or these line markers. Now, what about your rhythm and your stress? Well, English is a language that uses stress. Certain words are pronounced louder and longer than other words. Let's have a look at the text again. I'd like you to quickly pause the video and spend about 45 seconds reading that text and think about which words you think are going to be emphasized more than other words. Okay, well, hopefully you did that. I'm now going to show you by way of example. I'm going to read each sentence out, and where you see these darker, bolder words, you'll see that I'm giving more stress and more emphasis. On Wednesday, October 17, we will begin installing new internet connections in your building. Unfortunately, computers in most offices will be without internet for most of the day. However, by 10 a.m. we expect to finish the new installations in the main lobby, conference room, and several workshop rooms. Please use those locations if you require internet access on the day in question. So you'll notice that as I was reading that, those words that are darker there on your screen were said a little bit louder and a little bit longer than the other words, because these are main content words. They carry more meaning. Now, the kinds of words you should be stressing, well, you should always stress your nouns in the passage, or noun phrases. You should always stress times and dates. Any kind of time or date that is written in the passage should be stressed. You should also stress your main verbs, not really your modal verbs or your auxiliary verbs, just the main verbs. You should also stress your adjectives and also the adverbs. The adverbs should definitely be stressed, but also any negative words like no or not or without, any sort of negative connotational meaning should be stressed as well. So, it looks like a simple passage, but there's a lot to think about in terms of pace and stress when you read aloud in the TOEIC speaking task.